Uh, okay, folks, I think let's get going. As I say, we've just gone past 8 o'clock, so welcome all and to episode 2 of the life and times of Mpumelelo. So really looking forward to this, Mpumelelo. I think let's just take it away. Go for it.
All right. Good morning to everyone again. I have to say it's been fascinating for me as well. I've never had to share the whole story and try and summarize it. It's always been snippets for different people for different reasons at different times. But yesterday, I think I started by just giving where I was born, the setup in terms of family. Then I spoke a little bit about my mother's nature and my father's nature and how they were with each other in a relationship. I then got a little bit into my early learning, the primary school that I went to, how after that my parents tried patching up their relationship, didn't work out, and how we moved to this new place, and all the challenges and the troubles there. And then I went into a little bit of high school, how it was a total contrast to primary, and how I used to be called so many times to account for what's happening with the school fees, the number of times I've had to try and figure out how I get to school and how I get to work. And then I touched on my tertiary education as some of the most difficult times, given that I was now staying at Res by myself. And how then I decided third year that I should work, and then it was a matter of balancing work and school. I did touch as well on my first job, which was at F&B, and that's where then one became a breadwinner at home, and all that it meant in terms of making sure that everybody has what they need and starting to pay for my brother's school fees. And then, I spoke a little bit about how I registered my first company, then where I was trying to do IT software for companies, for schools and townships. Second job was a very short stint. And then when Samba closed down, I was unemployed for 8 months. And I think that's where it ended yesterday. All right. So now I'm going to just get into the third job, which was something I looked forward into doing for the first time. The first 2 jobs were more about just surviving, make sure that there's income. But the third job was one where it started talking to some of the things that I wanted and I would have liked to do. So I worked for the Jupiter Drawing Room, which was an advertising agency. So you can imagine the excitement, the creativity, the vibe in an agency. And I felt that it spoke to the creative side of my life. I worked there for 8 years. And to be honest, I don't know how I lasted that long. Because by year 2 already, I could feel that employment is not my thing. But because I still had all these responsibilities that I'd taken over at home, I had to stick around. So the next 6 years were quite difficult. It was more just about surviving, make sure that there's income at home and I'm able to live as well. While I was working at the Jupiter Drawing Room, I did get promoted 3 times. So I started as an account exec, and then I became an account manager, and then eventually I became a strategist. Now the income was increasing with each promotion, but it wasn't catching up with the responsibilities. So by this time, my brother was now a tertiary at the University of Pretoria. My sister was starting high school, so the expenses were becoming bigger. So I used to say that I was earning an entry-level salary and having a family man's responsibilities. That's how I used to put it. Now, because of that, I cannot express the number of times I got stuck on the highway because my car ran out of petrol. I simply did not have petrol money. And I'd have to figure out a way how I get to work and how then do I come back to pick up the car where it last stopped so that I can get back home, and then think about how else then do I get money for petrol for the next day. Again, I was still in a situation where I'll earn money on the 25th of the month, and probably by the 28th, very little or nothing will be left by then. At that moment, while things were like that, I was recording my album. Remember, I said I come from a family where we used to sit around a table and sing as siblings because my dad was a singer, and we took that from him. So I released released an album while I was working at Jupiter. Music was one thing that I thought I would do my whole life. I didn't think I'll ever do anything else. And so I started touring around the country. I was once in Botswana. I was once in Lesotho going to sing there. That's where I actually met my wife. I'll tell a little bit on that. So that was the second company that I'd registered because I wanted to release the music under my own label. Now, when all that was happening, the house that we were living at, my father hadn't paid since he left. And this was now 8-10 years down the line. And so that house got repossessed. That was probably one of my most difficult times because that house was the only stable thing we had as a family. When all other things were falling apart, at least there was that roof under our heads. So when that was lost, I remember I got a call while I was at work that I should come home quickly. When I got there, the people that were the sheriff, the people that the sheriff had sent, were not careful with moving stuff out. They were just throwing everything out. So the least furniture that my mother had was broken. Everything was broken. It just was not in the same condition. So there we were standing outside. I didn't know where I would take them because, again, it fell on me to figure out what next. And so I called my aunt and I said, look, family standing outside, furniture is standing outside. Can they at least come to your house while I'm trying to figure out where else they could move to? That was a very difficult time. So I went back into trying to sell music as another source of income, selling out of my booth, singing at churches, singing at different places. And the car was very, very central to that. Now, some time later, I got into a car accident. So now I couldn't continue with going around to sing, sell the albums, try to get money in that way. And for the first time in my life, the wheels fell off. I fell into depression. For the first time, I lost that hope, that energy I've had all my life, trying to push as hard as it was. I think it was because I felt like I've tried so many things. I've worked so hard. I've had endless days of studying under very difficult circumstances. And in my head, doing all those things was going to lead to a better life, to a great life. And here it was, this better life was not coming. If anything, my mother has lost a house. I've lost a car. I don't know how to now go around soul music trying to make money. I can't get to work easily. So I fell into a depression. By the age 24, 25, I was highly, highly depressed. Depression is painful. So when we spoke about depression, it wasn't something I was speaking out of, it's something that I had gone through. Interestingly, because I was going around singing, at that very time I met my wife in Lesotho. I'm not going to go deep into that, but it was interesting because I almost did not go on that trip. I almost did not go in Lesotho because the people who had invited me did not prepare things early enough, and I hate last minute things. So I was deciding, no, you call me the day before, I'm not going. But later on, I decided to go. Little did I know that that was the day I was going to meet my wife. So yeah, that was part of the third job that I had. Then I had the last job, which was at McCann Erickson. That was also an advertising agency. I was there for 2 years, and I was a communication strategy there. The payment got a little bit better. I had a boss who was very, very fond of me. I think he fought that 3 times my income was increased in that year. So in 1 year, I had 3 increments. He also tried to make sure that I had a car because we used to work for GM as our account. And he got me a car at a retail price. But then I also started working as a moderator part-time. This is how I got into research. Some friend of mine said, I think of your character, I think of the person that you are. I think you will fit moderating. Come and try it. So I went and I tried. Lo and behold, I didn't know that I'll spend my next 12 years doing moderating. During that time, got married to my wife as well. probably one of the best times in my life. I truly, truly, truly enjoyed being married to her. I was besides myself. Got married 8 months later after being married. McKen Erickson said, "We are cutting off people." And that was the end of me working there. Now, this is 8 months after being married, when we are sharing dreams, having goals, deciding how life is going to look like. So 2008, I was out of work. I remember for the first 6 months, I was earning UIF, but now the moderating was starting to become a full-time activity, full-time something that I would do. And then in 2010, I registered the company that I'm running now, which is Khusiami. The name Khusiami, it's a Tswana name that means it is well. And how I came up with that name is when I was growing up at Sunday school, the teacher that used to teach us used to say, when you finish doing your work, just like God, put it away, look at it and see if in your heart it says it is good. If it says so, then you know you've done a good job. So Khusiami means that. It means it is well. So that's where the name came from. 2010 was a tough year. In that year when we started out by doing marketing services because that's what I studied. I studied marketing. But because I enjoyed research so much, then I started getting into research, understanding what research is all about. So I've never worked for a research company, but I consulted in the industry and came to understand a lot and then provided those services. So now what we've included is consultancy, which looks a lot at leadership and management development, employee management. I'll come to you, my boy. Love. Sorry. And then, so we provide employee engagement as well as ideation to companies. So now look, there's a lot I could have included. I've tried in telling the story to include what I thought were the most and the main experiences. What I can say in closing is that what for me was always a great thing that my mother gave to me and my siblings was just that foundation in the Christian lifestyle and belief. And that for me is what was central and carried me through all the difficulties and the troubled times. Remember, when you don't have a father or you don't have parents that are learned and are doing well, is you have no point of reference. You can't run to someone and say, what do I do when things are like this? So you almost have to figure out a way by yourself. And so for me, scripture became the one place where I understood what it is to be a man. I understood what relationship is, what's the purpose of relationships, why are relationships important in the first place. Because remember, I'd never seen my parents in love. I've never seen that picture. I didn't have that picture in my head of them, and then come to understand what it is like for two people to be in a relationship. I didn't have that picture. And so scripture became the one place where I came to understand a lot of things. I learned to become happy. We spoke about happiness at some point. I learned to become happy even though the circumstances were not correct. That's where I learned that happiness is a decision. Because if I waited for everything to be better and to be nicer, I would have never been a happy person. And what I take courage in today is that I have a lot of joy in me. I'm generally a happy person. I'm generally smiling. I'm generally happy. You wouldn't tell that I've gone through a lot of trouble in life. Moreover, I learned how to come out of depression. And that day I remember it very well when I came out of depression. It was just an amazing thing. I'm not going to get into that story as to how that happened, but I also learned there that it matters what your mind focuses on. And then I had to learn to focus on the positives, however little they may have been. So yeah, the Christian belief, the Bible, became very central for me to become the person I am today. And yeah, I think then I can close it with this picture. That's a picture of my people, of my family. There's my beautiful wife there. We've been married for 12 years. It feels very short. We've had a great time during that period. Have the most amazing relationship. In actual fact, I want to write about relationships. I want to write about fatherlessness and what it means and the impact thereof. I want to write about how to survive the difficult times. And yeah, those are my two boys. Bongosi, the oldest one is nine now, and the youngest one is 6 years. The oldest is turning 10 this year, 27 December. The youngest turning 7, the 23rd of September. I'm very precious of them. Everything I do has behind it the mind that I want to be the father that I did not have. I want to be that father to them. I want to be the husband to my wife that my mother couldn't have, because I can see the impact of that even on her today. Yeah, so I think that's me in a nutshell. There's a whole lot more I can share, but I needed to just touch those snippets that probably give a good picture of a bigger detail. And yeah, I have to say, I haven't shared as much with anyone else. So yeah, thank you, Wisdom Chats and Ivan and Lee. That's me.
Mpumelelo, that's absolutely amazing story. Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing. We really do appreciate you opening up to us in this group and giving us some insights into your journey in life. And yeah, I think absolutely there's definitely a book, and I would suggest probably multiple books in that story, which can benefit many people through your insights and your journey through life. So really appreciate those insights, and thanks so much for sharing it with all of us. I think we've all benefited by the story and can learn from it. So well done. Really appreciate that. Let me pop across to Lee.
Mpumelelo, we're just so grateful. Thank you for sharing, and so openly and so richly. It's been a journey that we've gone on with you, even though in a short period it feels like we were completely there with you. Mpumelelo, your screen's frozen. I'm wondering if you're with us. You there?
It does look like it's frozen, yeah.
I think, shall we just go around asking people their responses? And Paul, yes, please, it'd be lovely to hear from you.
I think Bumi and I keep on surprising each other because our relationship is so professional, right? So he was surprised by my story because he called me afterwards, and then I'm also like listening to his story and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it all makes sense, like why he is like this. I work with Mpumelelo as a strategist, and I send clients to him all the time and they never come back. And because he's just so amazing in everything, the attention to detail, the way that he works. But more than anything, it's this sobering thing that he has with me. Like he's just always just that voice of reason, and he's always putting things into context. I'm like this blazing fire the whole time, but he's always just that calming element, always making sure we make the right decisions. And now it all makes sense to me, like why he's always that kind of a person. I mean, I can hardly do projects without Mpumi in the team.
Right, fantastic, Mpo. Thanks very much for that. Let's go across to Kevin. Morning, Kevin.
Morning from the UK. I suppose I'm a bit lost for words. It's an amazing story. Gone through an awful lot of experiences there to learn from, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, I think there's much else I can say. Inspiring. Great to be able to be here and listen to it for the 2 days.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Kevin. Let's go to Stella.
Morning, everybody. Oh, Mpumi, what a story. I don't know where to begin. First of all, I just want to say your mother, I fell in love with her, the way that you talked about her. What an honor and a privilege to have a mother like that. And I think that also played a big part in you becoming the man that you are. And bless her soul for teaching you of God. And I get goosebumps when I think about that. And then your sense of responsibility came through so much as from a young age. You know, your responsibility to take accountability for your schoolwork, for your school fees, and then later on for your siblings to get them through university. So that is just amazing, and one doesn't know where it's coming from, eh? So but that is something really that stuck out for me for you. And also your determination to succeed in whatever you wanted to do. That is really something that you must acknowledge, and you must celebrate, those qualities that you've got. And I love Gosihane, the name of your company, It's Well. And it reminded me of that gospel song, It's Well With My Soul. And I can so picture you in that song. So, and the love that you have is just coming through you. And the way that you present yourself and you talk. And when I looked at your family, oh, your wife is beautiful, and your children, and you can see the smile. They've got your smile. And yeah, it was such a delightful story. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best going forward. And I know you're going to be very successful. But most of all, you're happy and you've got joy in your life. So thank you for that.
Great, thanks, Stella. Let's go across to Jasper.
Hi, I see Mpumelelo has left us, but he can go back to this recording. So listen to his story, and again, I mean that's probably true for everyone's story, Paul and everyone else who have shared so far, Stella and Nozipo. It just came up in me that, and I made a comment in the chat room, that if you are destined for leadership in this life, in whatever area that you are called into leadership with, real leadership will first prepare you by making you experience the highs and the lows of the people that you will eventually lead, so that you're not talking from theory, that you're talking from personal experience. So I can certainly see him being fast-tracked through the school of leadership in his life. So for me, the amazing thing is that, and I always tell people when, in terms of the generational message, wherever you are in life, when you receive the message, that's just chapter 1 of your book. So take your time, write your chapter, and now from that chapter, the rest of the book and the pen is in your hands, and take it and see where this leads you. And I can really imagine a massive future for Mpumelelo in terms of just the basis from which he will start his life from. And I like some of the comments there, father of the fatherless, because it's really a huge challenge in our country right now, with so many people who don't have a reference point of a strong father figure. So I'm excited that this chat room of wisdoms is starting to unearth this quality of leadership around our country. And if it serves no other purpose, it's wonderful that we start to meet each other, because I was wondering in what other context would we have really met Mpumelelo, Mpo, Nozipo, and the people who have shared this story. So yeah, that's my contribution.
Great, thanks, Jasper. And yeah, I agree with you there. It's an amazing environment that we've come together in here and enabled us to do this and meet amazing people. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Let's go across to Solomon.
Yeah, I know my video is not on. I woke up just a little bit late. But anyway, I'm very touched and encouraged by lots and lots and lots of things that Mpumelelo has shared. And I know there's lots and lots of similarities with his story and my story. But I think, just like Jasper was saying, some people come into your life and they help you to actually just being able to even find yourself. And I think, Mpumelelo, you are going to find yourself helping so many people to find themselves and to do well and to build building blocks in their lives and be able to become the best of who they need to be. So your experiences are amazing indeed. And we thank you for sharing them with us.
Great, thanks, Solomon. I agree 100% with you. Let's go across to Nozipo.
Thank you. I missed the first part of today's story, and you should have seen me saying things that are not so nice to my computer because it decided to reboot just as I was logging on. But that's just because I was so captivated by the story of Mpumelelo from yesterday. I don't know Mpumelelo. I've come to know him through wisdom chats, and one of the things that comes through whenever he engages here is his humility. And you know what amazes me is how he went through a childhood like that and still came out to be so humble. But not only, you came out to be humble, and he made something beautiful out of his life, just, from the cards that he was dealt with. And I often wonder, I'm raising a boy, and he's a teenager. He's 17. He's turning 17. And I often wonder about how, obviously, like every parent, I want the best for him, and I try by all means to make sure that he gets the best. And his father also makes sure that he gets the best, even though we don't stay together. And I always ask myself about what sort of future I'm creating for him, because every time I hear stories like the one of Mpumelelo, where people come out of such hecticness and manage to craft beautiful lives for themselves, I ask myself, am I not spoiling my son? Would he be able to come out of this life and still be a humble human being? But all in all, I'm humbled by Mpumelelo's story, and all the best for the future, and it can only get better from here. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nozipo. Let's go across to Donovan. Donovan, are you with us?
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm also touched by Mpumelelo's story. It's all about life experiences, which is a great teacher. Yeah, normal education isn't enough. It just gives you the theory. You also need to combine it with real life experiences, and sometimes you don't have to go through those experiences. You can just learn from other people's experiences. And I just once again thank you for opening up so that we can also learn from your experiences. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donovan. Let's go across to Cecile. Cecile, are you with us? Cecile, I'm not sure if you're with us. Are you there?
Yes, my fiber is playing games as well this morning. It's the 5th time that I'm off and on, and it's so frustrating because I'm hanging to his Mpumelelo's lips. What is absolutely fascinating for me is that our generation, probably most of us grew up in schools where we had no black children, or maybe even 1 or 2 black children in the school, and we have no idea actually of what went on in their lives. We as children, you just carry on with your life and you think that everyone else has a similar life as you do. And even at university, it is so heartwarming and so sad to see that someone had to struggle that much through university, to just keep up there with everyone else, to struggle to stay, because I often wondered why some people would not come out of their rooms in res, and now you know, because it could be because they have to study, they don't want to be distracted, and possibly they have nothing to eat, they didn't want to see anyone else that they had nothing to eat. So I'm so glad that we can meet someone in real life, even if I can't touch him. Someone like Mpumelo, because you walk past people and you never know who they actually are to the core. I'm so impressed by him. I just love him, and I haven't even been near him ever. But this is very close for us. Thanks, Mpumelo.
Right, thanks, Cecile. Chiva, let's come to you.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating story. And you realize, Mpumelelo, that the book is already written. All you have to do is go over these last 2 exercises and your PowerPoint slides, and you're about 3 or 4 days from the book being finished. Man, ask Jasper, this is how he got his book out. The one question I need to ask Mpumelelo is, what made you feel comfortable enough to share that story over the past 2 days?
Okay, I guess I'm not on mute. Look, I think I had dealt with most of what was difficult in my heart. I've dealt with all the anger, I've dealt with all the frustrations. And so for me to tell the story has become easier, 1, but 2, I always feel that I'm one of probably the few people who survived all that difficulty, and telling that story will help others to understand that it is possible to make it.
And the one thing that stands out for me is, who that story helps the most?
No, you can share.
The author of the story. Because your time is now to write the story. Because in another 20 years, you've gone through 3 more lives, and that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to have forgotten all the things you talked about today. And the trick is to make certain that you've got that there so you can look back when you're an old bullet. And you know what, when you hit 65 years of age, it's lovely to go back and have a look at what you wrote back then, and just to see whether you think the same or whether you've changed your thinking. And I'm sure Jasper would just make a comment on how quickly from this point you can get your book out.
No, agreed. I agree. He's got, just from the last 2 days, he's got the outline of the book. And also, don't worry about just one book. Your story is not confined to that one book. Like I've said, when you were not on the air, your whole life up till now and your story, although it will fill a whole book, in terms of where your life is going, is just chapter 1. But having the book written will just give you the credibility so that other people who don't have time to listen to this group can get the book. And sometimes imagine a mother somewhere and there's no father figure for a child, and somehow your book is out there and she's been referred to your book, and she just put that book in the hand of that young boy. So a book just multiplies your presence, and it multiplies your reach. And it gives you that credibility, and it certainly puts you then on a track in your life to say, all right, from this basis, where do I go next? So And the other thing is 65 comes fast. Ask that 20X capper there. So,
Great, thanks guys. All right, I think Lee, let's hand back to you for some final comments and then set the tone for tomorrow after, sure, fantastic 2 days.
Yeah, I must say I'm a bit dumbstruck. You know, and I think the thing that I'm taking out of, you know, listening to the stories we have, and I've started interviewing South African authors, and that comes from a desire and a passion to give a platform to South African wisdom, to the stories that are local, that says that we have talent, we have insight, we have unbelievable stories that are relevant for us here, now, today, in this country, but that are powerful for the world to hear. And we need to broadcast these stories because they have the impact that Jasper's talking about, the impact for the young child who is fatherless, the impact to a whole generation or generations that, and right now, are going to be suffering through times of extreme poverty. If I just think about Mpumelelo, we need these stories to give us courage, to give us hope, and to give us guidance. And so I'm really advocating as strongly as everybody else has, that these stories get told verbally, visually, and in written form. So in whatever format we can. And so what it is that we can talk about tomorrow, I'm feeling a little bit gobsmacked because I feel like we've said a mouthful. So I think the word inspiration comes to mind. And so I think I'd like to maybe just explore what is inspiring for you? What keeps you going? And I think now that I'm talking, we talk ourselves into these things. You know, one of the things that really struck me about what Mpumelelo says is not having a point of reference. And I think a role model or an inspiration or a belief can become a point of reference. Scripture for Mpumelelo was that. So, you know, what is your inspiration? What is your point of reference that you turn to over and over again, that becomes like a beacon, a lighthouse that keeps you on track and gives you a guiding path? So let's pick that up tomorrow as a way of launching into another discussion. And thank you everybody for sharing and this rich and amazing time.
Great, thanks Lee. Thanks everybody. Have an inspired day and we look forward to your insights into inspiration tomorrow. So go well and make it a good one. Cheers now.